If your work depends on platforms, their rules are part of your business. Not the exciting part, not the part anyone wants to read, but the part that can quietly affect payouts, eligibility, AI disclosure, payments, content rules, or your workflow. Most creators and solo operators handle this in the worst possible way. They keep a few links in bookmarks, remember a few headlines, and hope they notice when something important changes. That is fragile. A platform rule does not have to change dramatically to matter. A threshold changes. A disclosure requirement changes. A payment provider becomes part of the process. A policy starts treating AI content differently in a sensitive category. So the system in this video is intentionally boring. It is not a magic agent. It is not legal advice. It is not a promise that nothing will be missed. It is 3 reusable assets: a source table, a rule change table, and a checklist for deciding when a change actually matters. The first asset is the source table. This is not a fancy database. It is a list of official pages, why they matter, who cares whether they need login, and what kind of human review is required. The selection rule is simple. Do not monitor every page. Start with pages that can affect payout, eligibility, publishing, payments, distribution, or daily workflow. If a page cannot change a decision, it probably does not belong in the first source table. That rule matters because monitoring has a hidden cost. Every source creates noise, maintenance, false positives, and review work. A bigger list is not automatically a better system. For first version, I would rather watch 5 sources that clearly matter than 50 sources that create vague alerts. So the source table needs a reason column. Not this page exists. The reason should say what decision might change if the page changes. Does it affect whether a creator can earn? Does it affect what must be disclosed before upload? Does it affect payment setup? Does it affect whether a workflow should pause until a human checks the official page? The first source anchor is YouTube's partner program eligibility page. This matters because subscribers, public watch hours, shorts views, AdSense, 2-step verification, and policy requirements can all become business gates. The second source anchor is YouTube's altered or synthetic content disclosure page. If your workflow uses AI, disclosure is not a footnote. It is part of the production system before publishing. X and TikTok are useful examples too, but in this demo, they also show the safety boundary. Plain fetch returned HTTP 403 for X help pages, and TikTok failed through plain fetch. That is not a reason to fake success. Those rows stay in the source table as manual review rows. This is important. A failed fetch is still information about the system. It tells us that the first version can list the source, explain why it matters, and tell a human to review it, but it should not generate an automated rule change row from an error page. This is also where a lot of automation demos become misleading. If a page blocks a simple fetch, the honest answer is not to pretend the system monitored it anyway. The honest answer is to mark the limitation, keep the official URL, and decide whether browser capture, manual review, or a different official source is safer. For platform rules, the boundary is part of the product. Now the demo. The input is a JSON file with official sources. Each source has an ID, platform, URL, rule area, reason to monitor, and watch terms. The script fetches public pages when it can, cleans the text, extracts watch terms, and creates a snapshot hash. A snapshot hash is not magic. It is just a cheap way to know whether the normalized page changed between checks. Then it writes the source table. In this run, it wrote 5 source rows. The script does not log in. It does not read private dashboards. It does not touch payment profiles, tax settings, identity verification, bank details, account security, or payout setup. Those are human gates. A monitoring system can prepare a review package around those gates, but it should not cross them. That is why the output is modest. The useful artifact is not a dramatic claim that an agent understands every platform rule. The useful artifact is a row that says where the rule came from, what terms were detected, who might care, and why a human should review it. For the change table, I am using a local old snapshot fixture. The current pages are real. The old snapshot in this demo is local demo data. That means the change rows are not historical claims. I am doing that on purpose. I did not want to pretend a platform rule conveniently changed while recording. The fixture only shows the shape of the workflow. Old watch terms, current watch terms, added terms, removed terms, and a row that says human review is required. If this were running over time, the old snapshot would come from the previous real check. But this demo is not there yet, so the label has to be visible. In a real scheduled version, the table would need a history of previous snapshots, timestamps, source URLs, and review notes. It would also need a way to ignore layout noise, navigation changes, cookie banners, and other page changes that do not affect the rule. That is later. The first video only needs to prove the shape of the workflow without overstating what has been validated. A bad change row says, YouTube changed something. Panic. Or worse, AI says your channel is at risk. That is not useful. A good change row stays humble. It says, this source changed, these terms were detected, this audience might care, this could affect money or workflow, confidence is limited, and a human needs to review the official source before doing anything. For platform rules, the human review column is not optional. It is the safety feature. This is the difference between an assistant and a rumor machine. A rumor machine turns every wording change into urgency. A useful assistant makes the review cheaper while keeping the decision with the person who owns the account, workflow, or business risk. Before acting on any detected change, the checklist asks 5 questions. Does this affect payout, eligibility, content publishing, payments, distribution, or daily workflow? Is the source official? Is this a real rule change or wording and layout noise? Does this need human review? What should never be automated? The answer may be boring. That is fine. Some changes require a workflow edit. Some require a note. Some require a pause. Some require doing nothing. And some changes should become content or a data asset. If a public official rule changes in a way that many creators or small operators need to understand, the same source row can become a video update, a newsletter note, a website page, or a future changelog. That is the compound part of the channel. Each video leaves behind assets that can be reused. The point is not to replace reading the source. The point is to move platform rules out of memory and into a reviewable system. Official source, snapshot hash, watch terms, change row, human review. That does not make platform risk disappear. It does not give legal advice. It does not mean an AI should make account decisions for you. But it gives you a place to look, a row to review, and a checklist for deciding what not to automate. The useful part is not the agent. The useful part is the source table.